Hey everybody, it's Neil again from Heart of Texas Armory, and today I wanted to bring you guys a quick look at my new watch here. This is a Phoibos Eagle Ray GMT, so join me today and find out my first thoughts on this really cool watch from Phoibos. So Phoibos sent this watch over to me, and I've been playing around with it here for the last 3 or 4 hours, and I wanted to give you guys my first initial impressions and thoughts on this watch. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with this timepiece. And as you can see, I went with the gilt dial version of this Eagle Ray GMT, and there are some other color choices and some of them are pretty neat as well. So there's a black dial with silver lettering and indices, there's a red and black faded dial, and a blue and black faded dial. All of the color choices are pretty impressive in my opinion and pretty unique, but I decided to go with the gilt dial because I think it looks pretty classy, and also I don't have any watches in my collection that have the gold indices or lettering. Zooming into the dial here so we can take a look at some of the detailed work that Phoibos put into this timepiece. You can see that the indices are all applied, which is really nice. And all of the rest of the printing here on the dial is very precise and clean, so that's nice as well. And right here you can see with the red outline the GMT hand, which can be independently moved with this upper crown right here. Now that GMT hand does work in a 24-hour scale. Of course, the rest of the watch works on a 12-hour scale. We'll take a look at the operation of the GMT hand in just a few minutes, but I wanted to also show you guys the seconds hand. You can see very accurate tracking around the chapter ring here. You can see that the seconds hand lines up pretty much perfectly with all the markings, so that's pretty impressive. A lot of quartz watches don't have that level of accuracy, so it's really cool to see that Phoibos has put that much accuracy into this new GMT watch. And next up, I'll show you guys the Lume action. So on this particular model, Phoibos put 12 layers of Superluminova Old Radium Lume here. So you can see it glows very bright, should last throughout the night. Phoibos always does a really good job on their Lume, and this watch here is no exception. I will mention some of the other models are going to come with BGW9, but this Old Radium Lume is pretty impressive. And quickly we'll talk about the specs, so you should see those on the screen right now. So some of the highlights are the overall dimensions. So you're looking at 41mm case diameter, 47 lug to lug, and a thickness of only 12mm since this is a quartz watch. So the dimensions are pretty solid. I will say though that since the crystal here, which is a sapphire crystal, covers the entire case diameter here, the watch does wear a little bigger than the 41 would indicate. To me it wears more like a 42 or even 43 possibly, just because of that large crystal, but overall the dimensions are pretty solid. The finishing here is done to a high level, just like pretty much all the previous Phoibos watches. They just keep getting better and better. So you can see this has some nice satin finishes here on the side of the case, polished here on the crowns. You can see the crowns are signed here with the octopus logo from Phoibos. The case back here is polished, and it does have quite a bit of information engraved onto the back of it. We do have the world cities here for all your time zones. In the middle here you have some basic specs. I will mention there's this blank area here in the center. I would have preferred Phoibos to probably engrave like a globe or some type of map there. I think that would have been cool, but overall the case back is well done, and you can see it is screw down. Phoibos does include this rubber tropic strap here with the watch. You can see it's well done, has some nice texturing on it, and it's comfortable to wear. But for me personally, I'm not a big fan of rubber straps, so I would have preferred this watch to come with either a distressed leather strap or even a steel bracelet. I think that would have been nice. And we'll wrap up this first look at this GMT watch from Phoibos talking about the operation of the movement. So we do have 2 crowns here, kind of a compressor style look. The top crown here does control a rotating internal bezel, and this bottom crown down here controls the movement. Both crowns are screw down, which is nice to see. We'll take a look first at this top one here, so we'll unscrew that. You can see it pops out with some decent authority, and you're able to rotate the internal bezel. The operation is very smooth, so really nothing to complain about, and I also like that when you push it on the crown, the internal bezel does not rotate as you screw in the crown. That's a nice touch. And to adjust the movement, you just operate the bottom crown here, so unscrew that, pop it out to its first position. If you rotate it in this direction, you can change the date. If you go in the opposite direction, you can see I'm moving the GMT hand. If you pop the crown out into its last position here, you can see it does hack, of course, being a quartz. You're able to set the current time, and you can see that the GMT hand is moving accordingly. Keep in mind that the GMT hand is in 24 hours. The hour and minute hand are, of course, in 12 hours. So my first impressions on this timepiece are pretty positive. I really like the build quality. I like that it's a GMT. I like that it's a quartz. I like the dimensions for the most part, but there are a few things that I'm not a big fan of. Like I mentioned, the strap here, not the biggest fan of that rubber strap. The dial is a bit busy in my opinion. And having that internal rotating bezel, the watch does wear a bit larger because that crystal covers the entire surface of the watch here. But other than those things that I mentioned, I think Phoibos has another winner here on their hands. I think the design of this GMT from Phoibos is very solid, so I'm looking forward to wearing this watch over the next week or so I can bring you guys a full review, so be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions or comments on this timepiece in the meantime, feel free to leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all take care.